I get so excited with every single video that I do because this is so exciting for me. It's new and yeah, I'm just really excited, and I have fully stepped into the teacher role. I've got my lanyard that I don't even have keys on, my yellow pencil dress, and then I have my school, like teacher charm bracelet. I fell in love with it. I had to have it anyway. So yeah, I am fully stepping into my teacher era and I am here for it. This video is going to be geared more towards my kindergartner, and then I will do a separate video with the stuff that I plan to do for my 9th grader. I want to go over what I have behind me so far. It's not done, but I'm working on it as I go. And I know that along the way, as time goes on, I will be, filling in the gaps, putting the pieces of the puzzle together, seeing what works for us, and then, it'll be set up that way. But I do want to share with you what I have for my kindergartner for his morning work, and then what I have planned to do throughout the day, and the timing of things, the schedule, and all that good stuff. So I'm going to start with his morning folder. And again, please know that the way I am doing this is not the way that you have to do it, and it might not even be the way that I continue to do it throughout the year. I had to start somewhere, and this is where I started, and I'm going to see how it works for us, and I will just change it up as we go and do what works best for us. So do what works best for you. We're going to do what works best for us. I did get lots of ideas from a lot of kindergarten teachers on TikTok, and when I saw their videos and I, studied it, it just kind of made sense for me. And I thought, okay, because our 9th grader has been homeschooled since 1st grade. He went to public school in kindergarten, and then we pulled him out about, I think within the first 6 weeks or first 9 weeks of him being in 1st grade, because he did not have a good experience with his 1st grade teacher. And neither did we. So we ended up pulling him from that, and he never wanted to go back to school because that left a bad taste in his mouth. He thought, well, this is just how school's gonna be. That's not how school is. Unfortunately, it left a bad taste in his mouth, so he was just too afraid to go back. So we ended up just pulling him, we homeschooled him, and every year we gave him the option of going back to school or being homeschooled, and he always chose to be homeschooled. So all that being said, we have been homeschooling, but a lot of it has either been done online or with my mother-in-law because I worked full-time. So this is my first year being able to fully take on the role of being teacher. We are also introducing a new student this year, which will be my kindergartner. And I am thrilled about doing that. I am thrilled about taking on this journey. I am very nervous, but I'm very excited. I'm nervous because I want to make sure that I am giving my children the education that they need, and I don't want to fail them. I don't want to be the reason why they're not getting something. That's a little nerve-wracking, but I'm just doing my research on every single thing that I can possibly think of, and like how to teach them and what's the best way to present things to them. So let's get started. For the morning work, I do want to start by saying that children from the ages of 3 to 6 learn best through play. If you are a new mom or you're about to homeschool and you have any children from the ages of 3 to 6, just know that they learn best through play. I won't go into too much detail about it. I will link a video here so that you can click on this and watch it. I highly, highly, highly recommend that you do that, because this woman is a woman of knowledge. She is a former teacher turned homeschool teacher, and she has 6 children. And she was talking about the importance of just letting your children from the ages of 3 to 6 just play, learn through playing, and don't be so hard on yourselves. Don't feel like you're failing them as a mom, as their teacher, because they're not adding 10 plus 5 at 6 years old. That's too soon. So give yourself grace and give them time and give them grace. I do want to introduce you to my son's morning work folder. Now, I do have his name on the bottom of this. So this is just, something I created on Canva. I just thought it was a cute little design. And then when we open it, we have his pouch here. You do not need a pencil pouch. You just don't. I wanted him to have a pencil pouch because I have a little one. I have a baby. I have a 1-year-old. And if I put a caddy in the middle of the table with all of this stuff in it, you know what's gonna happen. So I figured I'll just keep my son's things that he's gonna need for the day in this pencil pouch so that all he has to do is come to this, and then we'll flip through the pages and do everything as needed. When he flips his notebook open, it says good morning, it has his name, and then it says let's have a great day. And then this is what I want him to do on the first day of kindergarten. I want him to fill out his name. Obviously, I'm his teacher, you know, all that good stuff. I think it's just something fun to introduce them to. And I printed out one that he can do on the last day of kindergarten. And I just thought that would be so much fun to just go back and look at what has changed for him. So we've got that. And now we have his daily calendar. And this is something that I plan to do with him every single day until he gets the hang of it. But he'll circle what today is, he'll circle the month. We're going to teach him how to properly write the dates, and then we'll talk about the weather. And then on this page, we have the weather that's a little more in depth. It's just something kind of fun to do, something to learn about, and to, you know, just kind of wake the brain up a little bit. And then also down here, we've got the temperature. He can circle, you know, how he should dress for the weather that day. It's all learning, it's all fun. And then we have the numbers. And so this is something that we will most certainly go over every single day, is counting 1, 2, 3, pointing to each number and counting all the way to 100. He knows his numbers for the most part already. There's a few that he gets stuck on in the order he gets stuck on, but for the most part, he knows a lot of his numbers, and he can count backwards, not necessarily from 100, but he can count backwards at least from 10. And now, you know, we'll work up to 20 and then work on counting backwards from 20, 19, 18, all the way down to 1. So this is something that will be done daily. But again, all the stuff that I'm showing you is just going to be child-led. And what I mean by that is if he's starting to get frustrated about something, or I'm noticing that he's not really focused and his focus is starting to shift a little bit and he seems like he's becoming bored, we're gonna stop and I'm gonna let him go play. If my memory serves me correctly, I think the amount of time that you're supposed to spend at one time teaching the kids is you add 1 minute to their age. So for instance, if he's 5, I will add 1 minute, so that's 6 minutes. 6 minutes of sit down learning time at one time. 6 minutes, that's it. And that's okay. That is normal, and you should not force them to go beyond that, because then their brains are shut off and now he's frustrated or she's frustrated and now you're frustrated, because we're trying to push academics too soon. So give yourself grace, take a deep breath, take a break, let them go play. And then when they feel like they've gotten all the wiggles out and they are, you know, ready to sit down and learn something else, then go over something else. And if they're not, that's okay. The next day will come and you can try again the next day. So learn to write with numbers. We have 1 through 10. And then on the back side of that paper, we also have tracing the numbers. This goes up to 20. But again, we're just going to take things day by day. I have a name sheet printed out for him that it allows him to practice writing his name. And that is something that I really want to get him to doing every single day, because the more you practice, the better at it you get. The more the muscle memory, you know, starts to form, and the more legible their writing is. And then what I would like to do is at the beginning of each month, have him write his name, and then I can see the progression of how much better it's getting each month. I think that's just so cool. I'm gonna move on to filling out the days of the week. If I feel like this is getting to be too much for him, we won't do it. But I want him to trace the day of the week. So whatever the day is, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's gonna be in his today's work folder, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But we'll fill out the days of the week, or the day of the week, color Monday on the train. So he has to find Monday on the train, and then he colors in that train. And then he can trace the letters down here. This, let's see, color yesterday's green. This one, I'll probably have to help him with because it's still very new. Learning the days of the week, he doesn't remember what yesterday was, so that's something I will help him with. Now this one, the word search, I feel like is a little advanced for a kindergartner. I think this would be better suited for something to introduce later in the year or even first grade. He might do just fine with it, but I will not make him do the word search just yet. I don't mind him, filling out whatever he's ready to fill out. If he gets to finding the train and he's like, I'm done, I'm over this sheet, okay, fine, go play. That's okay, because we've got a little bit of practice in. A little bit each day is better than nothing at all if they are showing signs that they're ready. If they're not, don't do it. And I know that I keep saying the same thing over and over and over, but it's the truth. I think that the system puts too much emphasis on introducing academics way too early and too soon and too much too soon. I say, give them grace, give them time, give yourself grace, give yourself time, because back in the 1800s, and I've mentioned this in my last video, but they didn't introduce school until the kids were 7 or 8. And I think in Denmark and somewhere else outside of the US, they don't introduce school until 7 or 8, and they're they're academically overachievers. So there's that. Now, if your child is showing signs, if your child is 3 or 4 and they're showing signs of wanting more academically, then introduce it to them. Introduce what's appropriate to them when the timing is appropriate. But please do not feel like you have to do it now just because your neighbor Jessica and her 2.5-year-old is potty trained and reading and making her own lunch. Okay, now we have the trace the days of the week, and we'll do that with whatever day that we're working on. And then we have the months of the year. So we have January, February, March, April, May, June, all the way through December, of course. So that is something that we will learn together. Now this is his folder. These are his folders that I had. So we have today's work in this folder, and obviously that's just going to be what I have planned for him to do that day. And then this will have the rest of the week's work within this folder. And this is something that I will plan the night before or a week ahead of time, just depending on how life is for me, because I have a baby and I don't have help. So, the idea and the thought and the intention is there and it's good, but actually putting it into action might be something completely different. Now, let me show you what I do have in his today's work folder. I have the ABCs that he can trace, but I'm not planning on saying, okay, you fill this out and then we'll move on to the next page, and you fill this out and you move on to the next page and fill, no, because that's boring. It's very repetitive and it's just mundane, like it's boring. So what I want to focus on, and I'll see how this goes. But what I want to focus on is saying, okay, A is the letter of the week. So let's trace the letter A, or finger painting in the shape of an A. That's play. And then finding the letter A throughout the house. It's visual learning, but you're also making a game of it. And if you can turn learning into fun by making games out of it, you're gonna do just fine, and so will they. So when it comes to reading, I'm really hesitant about teaching him how to read. With things like this, I don't know if this is going to be too much too soon. I think he could do it. This is something that I will go over with him, though. It's not an activity that I expect him to sit down and do by himself. As a matter of fact, I don't expect to be leaving him to do anything by himself except coloring or painting. When it comes to tracing something or writing something or reading and answering something, I'm going to do that with him. When it comes to him crafting, painting, coloring, that sort of thing, I will leave that for independent work. This is another letters or numbers. This is them being able to differentiate the difference between letters and numbers. I think this is amazing. They can cut out, the letters and the numbers, so they're getting their scissors skills in, and then they're also learning what's a letter and what's a number. And then they just put it in the appropriate boxes. And then we have things like this, color by number. This is just a fun activity. You look at the number 4, what shade should the number 4 be? It should be green. It's little things like that. They're learning to also follow instructions this way. So I think it's really cool. Now on the back of my book here, it says it's his morning work folder, but it's a combination of things for him and for me. So in the back of his book here, his notebook, I have dividers. These dividers are not for him. These dividers are for me. It's for me to separate his work so that I can pull it all and then put it in his today's work folder. So what I mean by that is, for math, we have a math section. For reading, we have a reading section. For fun coloring activities, we have that, and so forth and so on. That's what these divider tabs are for. And then we have the months divider tabs. But the months divider tabs are for specific holiday worksheets. You know, I want to tie in whatever holiday or whatever season we're in with his daily activities. So for instance, oh, that's not in the right place, but sort by size. This is some pom-pom work. This is just easy stuff. This is for pom-pom stuff. Like, you get the big pom-poms in this circle, you put the small pom-poms in this circle. This sheet is not in the right space. I will be moving this to probably the math section or like a fun activities divider tab. So this is what I mean when I say doing seasonal worksheets. We want to do October stuff, so here is some fun activities for the month of October. And then we have November. We'll do some Thanksgiving stuff and, you know, just fun things to do for whatever season we're in or whatever holiday it is. That's all I have for his morning work folder so far. Again, it's more so something that is for him and for me. I don't have 2 separate notebooks here. I might do that at some point, but for now it just makes sense to put it all together here. So I do want to share with you some of the other things that I have over here. We are going to do a lot of hands-on stuff. I want to do some sensory play. So for instance, when we're counting, I want to get a big bucket and put rice in it and then put a lot of his Lego pieces in there. And I want him to pull out however many Lego pieces he can fill around for and put them on the table. And then I want him to count how many he has. That's a good, fun way of learning how to count instead of just going 1, 2, 3, 4, then bored. You know, the sensory play, I think it's wonderful, a wonderful way to do things. Okay, so we have math manipulatives that we will use. As a matter of fact, I'm going to grab this book. The way that I plan to incorporate math is to do it in the way that was introduced to students in the early 1800s or mid to late 1800s. And the way that that was introduced was by using manipulatives, by using objects throughout the house. You don't have to go out and buy stuff like this. Everybody has a can of something in their house. Everybody has a bag of chips in their house. You just need objects around the house. You have a bottle of water and a bottle of water. Put them together and that makes 2. Now you have 2 bottles of water, so 1 + 1 is 2. Doing things like that is better than having them sit down and write out 1 + 1 is 2. They learn better through play. I also want to introduce some Saxon math as well, but that might come a little bit later, but we'll see. I do really like the way Saxon math approaches education, and I really like the way that Ray's arithmetic approaches education. As a matter of fact, to me, they're very similar, at least from what I've seen so far. If you know anything about Saxon math or Ray's new arithmetics, you might be like, you're crazy. They're not anything alike, but they're alike in the sense that it's guiding me and teaching me how to teach my child, if that makes sense. I don't know. It makes sense in my brain. So now I know how to teach my child. So we have math manipulatives. We have the counting bears. We have the cubes and everything. And the way that I have this set up, I'm really excited about it. I have all of the manipulatives in one place. We also have fractions. That is obviously not for the kindergartner, but I have a fraction board, and it allows them to visually see the differences between an eighth, a tenth, a twelfth, a third, a fourth. I think that is really cool, and that's really gonna come in handy. The other thing that I do have is some STEM bins, which are just little toys that my son can get creative with and start his day off with instead of sitting down and tracing a letter. He can start his day with play. I had this huge container. It is a photo box container. I was not using it for that. I was using it for something else, but I was not utilizing the whole thing. And I thought, my God, what am I gonna put in here? And then I remembered I had all these little things that did not have a home, so I created a home. But this is his crafting slash STEM box. So he's got other things in here that he'll be crafting with. He's got pom-poms that are in here that we'll be doing, you know, crafting with pom-poms and counting with pom-poms and outlining things with pom-poms. Just a lot of fun stuff. And then he's got some felt stuff in here that he can make a sandwich with. I think that's what this is for. It's a little kit that came from the Dollar Tree. So ideally, what I would like for him to do is start his day with playing with either puzzles, because we've got puzzles back here. I've got a bunch of stuff. We've got puzzles, we've got the STEM bins, and then we have fun little activities for him to do. In a perfect world, the way our days would start out is puzzle and or STEM bin, and then moving on to something like this. Or we do the STEM bin, the puzzles, and then a read aloud together, take a break, let him go play, and then come back and do something like this. It's got this big poster pad, so it draws a line to match each color to its name. So yellow, he would find the color yellow and draw the line. Things like this. I just don't want to introduce too much too soon or at one time. Again, it's going to be very much so child-led. If 6 minutes is all he has, that is all he has, and that's all we'll do. You're not required to sit there for 8 hours a day with them, okay? I know they do that in public school, but they kind of have to. They are on a very strict schedule, a strict timeline, and they also have, depending on the school, anywhere from 15 to 30 kids, and they might have 1 to 2 teachers depending. And then they have what they call specials throughout the day, or they have other classes that they're going to. So when you're teaching that many students, it takes them that many times longer to do the work, if that makes sense. Something else I wanted to show you that I printed out. I made this on Canva. I got the idea from the teachers on TikTok, but this right here, we've got addition math, we've got subtraction math, number match, and what I want to do is just use pom-poms for this kind of thing. I don't necessarily expect him to write the number 3 + 1 = 4. If he's feeling like, hey, I can do this, then I most certainly will let him do that. But I'm not expecting that kind of work out of him. So we've got addition math, we've got subtraction math, and then the number match. And what I have yet to do, these are going to be cut out, and he's going to match the number, like the letters that the numbers are, and then match it to the hand. How many fingers is this hand holding up? Is it holding up 4? Okay, you'll go over here and you're gonna find the word 4, and you're gonna match it to the hand. This also teaches him how to hold his hands up, which he kind of knows that already. And then we have the number bond match. I had to look this up because I was like, what is this stuff? I have no idea. So the number bond match is, you would put what 2 numbers equals. So for instance, if you have 10, you would do 5 and 5. This is gonna be more pom-pom work than it is handwritten work. This might seem a little crazy, a little nutty, but honestly, I'm gonna give it a try because I think it might work, and if it doesn't, then I'll stop doing it. But this is not something that I have cut out yet, but I'm going to do a star system, a reward system, and I I have a reward jar that I got from Hobby Lobby. I forgot to bring it over here. But anyway, I have a reward jar that once it fills up, he can get a little reward from the reward bin. And I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna set that up and what I'm gonna do and how often, because I don't have 15 kids in a class, and you know, it's like whoever's good by the end of the week can have something. I don't want to introduce something brand new every single week. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm gonna do that yet. If you guys have any tips on that, please feel free to let me know. But anyway, you have to have 4 to 5 stars at all times to get a reward. So, you know, if he's not being a good listener, or if he is talking over me or something like that, then he gets a star taken away. So we'll see how well that works out. Y'all might be looking at this and laughing, being like, girl, good luck. It ain't gonna work. You won't know until you try it. So we're gonna try it. Now, the other thing that makes me a little nervous is teaching vowels and consonants and CVCs and all that good stuff, because I'm like, how do I even go about teaching that stuff? I really don't know. So again, I'm doing research on how to teach that and how to introduce it and when to introduce it. I think that's kind of what I'm stumped on, is like, when do I introduce that kind of thing? And how do I go about doing it in the way that they understand it? So there is a kindergartner teacher that I started following who is really, really good with teaching this kind of thing, which is where I got this idea from. She has what she calls her magic wand, and they have to wave it a certain amount of times for it to appear. It changes the word. So the way she did that, I was like, that's really cool. So I kind of stole that idea from her, and I'm going to try it. But I did print these out so that I can cut these out and stick them onto the lollipop sticks, and then we'll introduce it that way. There's like a little phonics kit that she has that has this in it and the magic wand and that sort of thing, and it teaches them how to use the vowels and consonants and the sounds that they make and the way you hold the shape of the mouth and all that kind of stuff. Very technical, and honestly, I'm very intimidated by it, because again, how do I teach that to him where he understands it, and when is it appropriate to teach that to him? If you're a teacher and you're watching this, please send help. Please help me. Oh yeah, okay, so then we have the numbers. So this I'm really excited about introducing to him, because I wanted to introduce something to him that he enjoys either listening to or playing. And listening to, I mean music. And then something that he enjoys playing is Minecraft. These are Minecraft boxes. This is Michael Jackson. He loves Michael Jackson music, and he loves to dance like Michael Jackson, and he's always in here dancing like Michael Jackson. So I figured this was a fun way to incorporate something that he enjoys, and it would help make learning more fun. So we've got the Minecraft boxes here, and he also loves Godzilla. We have what it looks like on the hands to hold up 8 fingers. He can trace the numbers up here as well. So just something fun. Got the number 2. This is what it looks like to hold up 2 fingers. This is what it looks like when there are 2 items in the jar. This is what 2 looks like on a piece of paper, and tracing it. Things like this. I think it's fun. They can see the different ways of what that number looks like. Again, all of this is very new for me. And if you're looking at it and you're like, that's too much, it's not gonna work, maybe not, but I hope it does. If you have any tips or guidance or advice on how to introduce work for kindergartners, please feel free to share them with me, because again, this is new for me, and I am feeling somewhat overwhelmed and a little nervous, because again, I don't want it to be too much on him. If you are new to this too, give yourself grace and take it one day at a time. You will figure out what works for you and what works for your child, and that's where the beauty comes in. Thank you guys so much for being here and for watching this video. I hope it was helpful for you. If you are a teacher, whether it be through homeschool or public school, and you have any tips or advice, I am all ears. I will take all that I can get. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.